Welcome to another episode of The Wandering Watercolor. Let's paint. So today we are painting the 7th page of the Chattanooga Scenery Watercolor Coloring book. It's the book that I make myself by hand through the use of lithographs. This is actually downtown in the Chattanooga Choo-Choo is what it's called. There was actually a song that was pretty popular, I think, in the 60s. Some of you might know it. And this is what it will look like when it's finished. Actually, we'll probably end up making it look better than that. It's kind of hard to always mix the colors exactly the same. But yeah, I think we won't really have a lot of problems with this one. It is a bit of a more detailed piece. So we're going to take our time. It'll probably take about an hour to paint this one, so just keep that in mind. And as always, have your brush, any brush, whatever works. It doesn't even have to be a watercolor brush. Whatever brush you're comfortable with. A rag or paper towel, something that you can use to take moisture out of the brush and the painting. A place to mix your colors. A place to test out colors and brush strokes. And then on the side, I have 2 jars of water. I always recommend 2, just especially if it's a longer painting. And a little spray bottle. You don't really need to have this. You can always just use a little bit of water directly, putting it on the paint. It makes it a little quicker to wet everything this way. It's also a personal preference. Some people just like using their brush. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, so let's get started. Oof. Put a little brown in my black here. That's fine. No worries. So first thing we're going to mix is this area, which is basically the loading platform. Is just kind of a light blue-gray. Excuse me. So I'm going to use the light blue and the brown. They cancel each other really well to make this blue-gray kind of tone. I might actually add a little more blue. There we go. Excuse me. My throat's been a little scratchy. Hopefully I'm not getting sick, but if I sound a little weird, that is why. I'm going to add a little more blue. And this is probably close to the color that we want. We just want to lighten it up by the use of more water to dilute the pigment. Let's see, I'm just going to test out here. And yeah, that looks perfectly fine. I'm just going to dilute it just a little more just so we have more to work with. And it's just a flat wash. So I'm just filling it in almost like a marker. I'm just going to go like this. You know, going a little slowly around those details, but even if I get in there a little bit, it's not going to be detrimental. Okay, we're just going to pull that out like that. And then just fill all of that in. It works more uniform the quicker you do it. So I do aim to get it done kind of quickly so that there's no overlapping of dried spots along with wet spots, because then it'll end up getting a little too textured. And this paper that I have in my books, it's mostly wood pulp. It's 30% cotton, 70% wood pulp. And 100% cotton paper is the best that there is for watercolor painting. However, that is really, really expensive, and I would not be able to, I would have to charge like 5 times the amount that I do for these books. But the advantage of watercolor, or using 100% cotton watercolor paper, is that you can actually take a lot longer with blending and laying down the color. With this, you have to be a little quicker. But to me, honestly, I prefer going a little quicker because it helps me establish my tones and the shadows and the lights. I get in more of a flow of it. If I take too long, then I feel like the flow is a little ruined. Hopefully that makes sense. some of the other watercolor artists that look at my work probably understand what I mean. Although there are people that just prefer to go much slower, and that's fine. So I'm going to rinse my brush here, and using this same color, the base that we had mixed already, I'm actually going to mix up the top here, the roof, the underneath of this roof that's over the platform. And then for that, we're going to use a little more brown and maybe a hint of green. So we're just going to grab the brown. Oh, let's see, that's way too much brown. And then, you know what? Instead of the light blue, I'm going to use the dark blue because I do want to distinguish the two of them quite a bit more. Actually, like the ground and the roof look a little too similar in this one. So I'm just going to alter it a bit just to create more contrast and so that it reads more easily. Oftentimes I end up, whenever I'm making these books, I'll end up painting the same painting like 3 or 4 times because I just want to get the feel for it, kind of figure out colors, how I want the color scheme to look. Even though I'm often working from a real-world example, I do notice that you can intentionally change things about the scenery that you're looking at whenever you're painting to make the painting itself more appealing. Like you can bump up shadows or highlights to just kind of play around with the contrast, colors. It's also a style. It's also just like a personal style type of thing. Okay, let's see. Okay. So this one is, yep. So you can obviously tell the difference between these two colors, but they're still similar enough to fit in with the setting. So I'm going to use this color that we just mixed up, and I'm going to paint all of the roof basically. I will avoid the little sconce that's over here. So same thing, just a flat wash. And this is just going to stop right there. And even though this paper is not 100% cotton, it still handles a good amount of water pretty well. I've done in previous paintings, if you've seen my other videos, some of them I do a lot of layers, and it works just fine. I think whatever you do in your art journey, the more that you can get used to a specific one specific set of tools. So if you're always changing your tools, you're always having to rearrange your workflow, your style, you know, and it's good to experiment with different tools because it kind of keeps you on your toes. But I always try, and I'm the same way. I like experimenting with tools all the time, but I always have my go-to set of tools and materials that I like to use, so I know exactly how they're going to behave and what it's going to look like whenever I'm doing like a commission or a gallery piece. So yeah, okay, I'm just gonna cover that in like that. And get a little more. Probably talking a bit too much right now. I should try to get this laid in, this flat wash. I want to kind of get it in pretty quickly and swiftly. I've noticed that whenever there's a lot of work to be done on a painting, I do tend to work a little quicker just because sometimes if I take too long on the painting, then I end up overworking it. That's definitely a learned skill in terms of knowing when to stop and when something looks good enough. Okay, so that's fine right there. I'm just gonna rinse my brush. Next, we're going to mix the red. So obviously this is red, this is red, some of the train cars back here. It's like this one's red, this one's gray, this one's red, and then this one's gray, and then the rest of them are red. Yeah, okay. So for the red, it's a very strong red. It's kind of like a fire engine red. I'm just going to grab some of this red and then some of this orange, kind of mix it in. I've noticed that with these paints in particular, putting in a good amount of orange helps make it more vibrant. It may be because this is more of like a crimson red, and the orange helps bring it back more towards the, away from the purple shades and more towards the yellow shades. So I think, because you have to remember, all colors on the color wheel are also a spectrum on their own, because they transition, they flow from one to another. Okay, I think this is good. This is a good red color. And we're just gonna lay in the flat wash. So this one is gonna be like this. Like that. Okay. Okay, so that's that. This little circle right here is also red. We're just gonna fill that in, just inside of this circle in the middle here. It's okay if you go out a little bit. I messed up a little bit, but that's fine. I'll grab a little more water just to make this easier to work with. And then this right here, all of this, I'm just gonna go ahead and, I know I'm going in and over details, but remember, it will dry lighter, and then when it does, we will go in and create the shadows to further define the form of this little well, what would this be? It's like a train bumper or a guard or whatever the proper term is for this thing that we're painting right now. Okay. Okay, we have that blocked in. And then the wheels, the inside of the wheels here are also red. There's a lot of red in this piece, but it's all very kind of focused in on the train itself. So even though red is a very kind of difficult color to paint with because it can overpower, but this composition works well. And then up here, we're going to cover this cap in red. And then this one. And then these little bands on the bottom here of these vents, they are also red. And I'm gonna grab a little more water and dilute this a little bit. And then this right here, this whole little cabin where the conductor goes, I guess I'm gonna do all that like that. And we can actually fill this in with red too. Yeah, just the whole thing actually. I'll go like that. Okay, I'm gonna grab more red. And then work on this one right here. And skip the little cart after the main cabin, and then go in and do that. And just kind of carefully going in. You know, there's a lot of detail, but this is fine. You don't have to rush it. And after that, we're gonna skip this little train card and then go to the one back here. And that's that. I'm gonna rinse my brush. So while the red sections are drying, I can go in and add some of the yellow highlights. Oh, didn't realize I got some other colors in my yellow here. I'm gonna clean that up. Let's see. Let me test that. Yeah, sometimes your colors get a little dirty. Other colors sneak in depending on how fast you're painting. I definitely tend to get a little quick and sometimes forget about my keeping my colors clean. But that's alright, we can work around that. Okay, so now with just the pure yellow, what you have, just get it directly. Don't even mix it, just go directly from the paint onto the painting. There's several different spots all over here. So the first one is this little cross-looking thing. On the side here, we're just gonna fill that in. And that's good. This little sign or plaque or whatever it is, it's right at the front of the train, that's yellow. This little bar that's over here, that's also yellow. It's kind of curving around. Just do that. And then there's a line of yellow that runs right underneath each of these caps over here. I'm just gonna put that in. And grab some more yellow. And then the wheels, they have like a yellow outline going around them. I'm gonna lay all of that in. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush. Okay. Now we want to mix the color for the train. There's some parts of the train that are they're very dark gray, but it doesn't look organic. There's no shade of green or blue to it. It's mostly just more on the black side, just because it is very synthetic. It's man-made. The previous page I talked about how you don't really want to use black in nature, but if it's something synthetic or man-made, it'll look fine if you put black in it. Oh, I almost forgot this little area over here that has this has a little bit of yellow. I'm just gonna get a little bit, okay. This little circle going around the red dot at the front of the train. Do that, okay. I rinse my brush. Just double checking my reference. So actually, before we go ahead and start painting the areas that are black, we'll go ahead and we'll do the turquoise areas of the train, which would be these two cylinders down here and this line. Yeah, okay. So the way we'll mix that is we'll grab some of this light blue, some of this green. It's really that really should be all of that. It's a very quick mix. Let's see. Just gonna, yeah, that's perfect. So we go in and do that. Let me just double check. I just wanted to see these little parts right here are actually going to be the dark gray, black that we'll be mixing in a second. And do this cylinder right here. Okay, and then this little cylinder. This is all turquoise, or teal, actually teal. This is more teal color. Right there. Just kind of slowly going around that with the very tip of the brush, just being careful not to fill that in. Okay, and then also this right here. Let's see. Yeah, it does look a little stronger, but again, it'll dry lighter, so don't even worry about that. Put that in here. Okay. Okay, so while these are drying, actually what I'm going to do, oh, got a little drop over here, fell down. So while these are drying, I'm actually going to work on, see that again. So back here, there's some pavement. I'm going to grab some water and then just mix in a little bit of this. I don't want to get too much. I'm trying to make it a little lighter. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm just going to go this in and use this to fill in right around here. Right around the pavement. Okay, so that's good. Rinse that off. And I'll go ahead and I'll get some more space here for my color mixing. I'm going to grab some green. I'm going to mix in the green for the bushes and the trees in the background here. And this green has a lot of yellow in it. We got a good amount of yellow. And some water. Okay, that looks good. And just lay that in. Just straight. Just lay that in right in there. Just a flat wash. No texture yet. If you end up making it look a little textury, that's also good. And fill that in. Okay, and do all that. Okay, so we have that, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna rinse off my brush. This little spot right here, I did fill it in. There's just a glare off my light, so it's making it look like it's white. But give it a moment and it'll dry up and it'll go away. I might have to go in and actually play with the camera controls for the colors, how it's picking up the colors, because when I'm looking at it, this color actually looks a lot closer to this color. I don't think it may be my camera settings that are not really picking this up correctly. My reference image that I have pulled up, I scanned it directly into the computer, so that's why it looks so. The colors look so much better. Okay, so the next thing is to mix the dark gray that'll be for all the metal parts. Okay, so for that one, we'll go ahead and we'll just grab some of the black, and you really don't need a lot. Like, this is probably more than enough. And let me just test that. Yeah, you see how that's... Yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna use this to lay it in all around these, basically the white areas of the metal white areas of the train that we have not filled in yet. Yeah, just take your time. There is a little bit of detail going on here you want to be cognizant of. Just go in like that. Okay, so that's a good even flat wash there. And then filling in all of these little areas. And then that. Just going in and getting all those details. These little bars here that are holding together the wheels, those are white, so I'm not gonna bother with them. But we are gonna go up here underneath the yellow stripes for these little vents here, as well as down here. Down here, okay. Okay, all that looks good. I'm just gonna go in and fill in this little stairs, these little stairs here with the railing. They are the same color. And actually also this little cart that's in between the red carts, just gonna cover that in. And these little ropes. And then this one back here, I'm just gonna lay in a flat wash there. Okay, so looking good so far. I'm gonna dry off my brush a little bit. Seems that it a little bit got away here. Just gonna spread it out. That'll look better when it dries. It looks a little weird right now, but it wasn't too pigmented, so it'll be fine. Rinse my brush. And now we can fill in basically the ground here for where the train tracks are. And it's all kind of like this yellowish, sandy tone. It's like these yellow rocks and sand. So something like this is probably, yeah, that's more like a ground color. This looks good. Yeah, we could just go ahead and lay that in. Don't worry about the rails. They're a darker color, so we can just paint over them and it'll look fine. Just painting all that in. Okay, in here, and in here. Okay, and then back here, just underneath. Okay, now rinse my brush. Excuse me. As I mentioned, my throat is bothering me a bit. I do apologize about that. And now, this wall in the back here, it's actually a brick wall. We can go ahead and mix some of that. So go ahead and grab some brown. And some red, a lot more red. And what that does is the red in this wall color is definitely nowhere near as strong as the red that's on the train. But having it in the picture helps ease up some of the color, so it's not all just so focused in one spot. There's other areas that have it. I think this is pretty good. We'll go ahead and we'll lay that in. Just ever so slowly. Like that. Oh, see, went in there in the little support there. That's okay. I'm not gonna try to fix it because I'm worried that I might make it worse. So that's fine the way it is. Oh wow, I apologize. I didn't realize that I had my reference up that time. But all I did was I just laid that in, that color that we mixed right here. I just laid it in these right here. So the next thing is we're gonna fill in the color for the sconce. The color is very similar to the ground, just a little darker, maybe a little more like metallic looking, I guess. So what I'll do is I'll grab a little bit of brown and mix it in here, and a little bit excuse me, a little bit of purple, just the smallest amount. There we go. And I'm just gonna color that in with a flat wash like this. Again, just basically just laying in the base color. The little window panes on the sconce, we are going to let those be white, so we're not going to worry about those. Okay, fill that in like that. I'm going to dry off my brush so I can pick up some of the excess of the color like that. Okay, Here, rinse my brush. And I'm gonna focus on the parts that are under the train here. We're going to use this color, but we're actually going to darken it up a little more. We're going to add a little more purple for basically the shadow of where the train is on the ground. So this color, let's see, a little more brown. And a little bit of yellow. There we go. Okay. That's good. So first, the little area back here, we're just gonna cover that in. Because not only does that ground have the train over it, but it's also further back. So it's more of a, it's even darker. And if you feel like you have too much paint on your brush, just feel free to just rub some of it off on wherever you're mixing your colors. And then this is going to be just a flat wash covering in like that. And the closer you get to the front, maybe break up the shadow a little bit just to show. So we're going to go like this, down here, like that. And this side has a little bit of a shadow from the rail. And same over here, just a little bit like that. Because the rail itself does cast a shadow. I'm gonna rinse that. Clean off my brush. I'm actually gonna pick up some of this. I feel like that's too much. There we go. There we go. Okay, that's better. Rinse my brush. And I'm just gonna grab just some straight brown. Maybe dilute it a little bit with the water that's in the brush. Let's see. And I'm just gonna go straight in like this. A little bit up here, and those trees back here. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna rinse my brush. Just gonna pull up my reference again. Obviously, there's a lot of contrast in the reference, so we'll go ahead and we'll start working on that. The first thing we'll do is we'll mix more red. Grab that, grab that. I'll add some water. Add a little bit of this brown. Get it a little darker, but also we're going to grab a little bit of green because it's the complementary color and it'll immediately make it darker. A little more red, more water, more orange. I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth here, kind of experimenting. Let's see. Add a little bit of purple. A little bit of purple will really punch up that darkness. Yep, there we go. That's good. I'm just gonna add more red. I'm gonna need more water. Make it... I keep adding water because I keep adding too much pigment to try to make it easier to work with, easier to have it move around. If you ever feel like the color is not moving around well enough, just add more water and it'll immediately solve the problem. Let's see. Okay, that's good. That's perfect. So first we're going to outline this right here. We're just going to do a little line right there. And then kind of a shadow going down the side over here, and then maybe like that. Okay, and then also a little bit up here, like that. That's good. A little bit in the little circle area to add definition. And then in between the little spokes here in the front, so the sides of the form that are closer to that are like the right side surfaces will have shadows on them. So we're just gonna go in there and do that. Like that one, that one, that one, that one, and maybe even the bottom here too, just because it's further back. Kind of like make sure that I leave some of that light red showing through, just so that we can distinguish the shapes, like that. Okay, like that. That. Okay, that looks good. And then over here we're gonna add some shadow in the well of the wheel back here, just a little bit, not too much, just giving that suggestion so that we know. It gives it more of a form, you know. And then a little bit on this right here, like that. This side, you know, where the shadow would fall. Inside of this little window here in the cabin, we're just gonna cover all of that in with the dark red, because all of this is in shadow. We're just gonna give that, make sure that that comes through. And also back here, this cart all the way in the back, we can put a bunch of the red, and in this one closer up, we're gonna do some of the red. We don't have to cover all of it, but some of it for sure, especially in between that middle card, like that. See, it already looks much better defined. I rinse my brush, pull up my reference again. Okay, yes, so we definitely do want to paint the shadow going up the walkway that the train is casting down, right, like this. So we're gonna grab this color right here. I'm gonna add a lot of water to it though, because it does need to be much lighter. I'm actually gonna pick up some of this and then just put it in my jar, rinse it off. And I'm just gonna grab the light blue, kind of mix it in. That's too much. I'm just gonna grab that and just get more water, water it down, a little bit of brown, mix it in. Okay, so this is the color. Let me just test it out here. Okay, that's good. Yeah, we could use that. This is the color that we'll use to create the feeling of depth as well as the shadow. So you want to put it in more in the back here, because it's further away from us, so it's darker. And then as we're coming up, I'm just gonna kind of follow the contour of the train. So like this right here is just casting a shadow like this. And then when we get to about here, we have the this thing over here, the cone. It's coming up like this. And try not to make it look perfect. You want there to be some imperfection in it, because it's a shadow. It's not the actual object itself. And we want that to be clear. We don't want it's not a perfect form. We're just putting all that in like that. There we go. See, that creates a lot more dimension. And the next step would be to create the shadows for the the teal color. So for that, we can just grab a little bit of dark blue and mix it in with the color that we had previously mixed. We'll get some water. A little more. Like that. Green. Some dark blue. Like that. Okay, that looks good. And then maybe a little bit of brown. There we go. That darkens it up nicely. I'm just gonna test it out. Yeah, that'll be fine. So for that, same thing, we're just basically trying to figure out where the shadow would lay down. So as the light comes around on the metal, wraps around it, the shadow will be mostly here towards the bottom of the cylinder, but also a little bit on the, kind of like an outline right here. So that's good. And down here. And then this. And then this side of this, kind of cover that in like that. And then like that. And I think I put a little too much water in the mixture here, but that's fine because when it dries, I can always just go back in to punch up the darkness a little more to create that contrast. And the next thing we'll do while that's drying is we will mix in some of the shadow for the trees, for the leaves. Where there's green, we're gonna mix that up. I'm gonna need more green. Okay, so this is a nice dark green color. I'll go ahead and just kind of do little dabs and little strokes to just show that there's shadow. Just, you see how I'm kind of like almost like just like pointillism, just like doing just little dots and just kind of spreading it out further and further apart the higher up that it is, more towards the bottom, so I can show where that shadow falls. Right there. And also a little bit here on the bottom of the bushes. Show that form. It does not have to be perfect. We're just trying to give the idea of form by the placement of shadow. I'm gonna rinse my brush. Sorry, I'm just fascinated by how different the colors look on the computer, but when I look at it in real life, I'm looking right at the painting right now. Like a lot of the colors look a lot more similar to this than this. So maybe I just need to invest in a better camera. That's kind of what I'm getting here from this experience. Rinse my brush. Nevertheless, it still looks good. I'm still very happy with how this is turning out so far. So now we can go back to mixing up the darker shades for the metal, the dark. Dropped some. Darn it! Dropped some. Whew. Okay. That is not good. I'm gonna let that dry before I try fixing it. So for the black parts of the of the metal that are on the train. We're just going to use this right here. I just grabbed a very small amount of black. The black is a very strong color and it overpowers the other colors very easily. So I always recommend just using small amounts whenever possible. So what I'm doing here is, okay, I'm going to go ahead and lay in some shadow. First I'm going to do these little stairs. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of like an outline. Like that, and then more on the side here, on the side of the stairs, just kind of like that, and then these little ropes that are kind of like the walls. It's kind of like making a wall of ropes here for the stairs. A little bit here, here, like that. So that's good. Use that, and I'm gonna go ahead and put in some details, just kind of like a little bit, just some short strokes, trying to follow with the little mechanical shapes that make up a lot of what's underneath it. These little cylinders, because that gives you more of the sense that it's kind of like a mechanical object. Kind of going in like that, like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Here and there, just a little bit. Like that. Get a little bit of water. Try to dilute this a little more here. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and go like this. Kind of like that. For that cylinder. Down here like that. And then up here like that. To show the form of that cylinder. Okay. Maybe outline this little cap over here a little bit, and then do a semicircle outline of the cylinder front like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna cover in a bit over here in this one. That's all the way back here. Okay, so that looks good. Yes, I'm happy with how that looks so far. I do need to start mixing up some of the darker shades for the kind of like the cross sections of the roof, or the ceiling I should say, that is over the platform. So what I'm going to do is grab some water with the black that was already, I'm just going to grab some of the black that I was using just now, just a little bit. I'm going to add some dark blue, a little dark blue, a little bit of the green, and just mix it together. A little more, a little more, and maybe just the smallest amount of black, just the smallest amount. Oof! See, the black overpowers very easily. So there we go. Okay, so let's see this. Okay, I'm gonna grab more blue and more green. And I think this is good. And basically I'm just gonna go in between these and create where there's shadows. Like for example, there's a little bit of hair sticking out from my brush. So this right here, for example, I'm gonna just fill that in, and it goes back, and just kind of like the inward facing part of the beam that's going across all the way down. And then in between, I'm just gonna go like this, like just there's one, and then kind of try to follow along where there's a in between these beams that are holding up the ceiling, and just go in like that. Just like that. And the same back here for some of these ones, like this one would be in more shadow. Back here, this would be in more shadow. This back here, we could pretty much just cover that in shadow. And then this, like that. Like that. Okay, so yeah, all that looks good. Rinse my brush. I'm gonna grab just some direct light blue, get some water, kind of mix it up. And what I'm gonna do is what I did here, I'm just gonna add, just kind of in the background, just adding that in directly. And fill it in like that. I'm gonna leave a bit of white up here for a cloud, like that. And same on this side. And there's a cloud over there. And grab some more blue. Should go all the way back. Kind of like that. Okay. I rinse my brush. And I'm actually going to grab just directly some of this blue, and I'm just going to do a little bit in, kind of like a reflection in the little sconce, and it's just a little bit. I don't even want to touch all of the, I'm not going to fill it in completely. It's almost like you want some of the white to show through there, just because it's like a reflection. So that's that. I'm going to dry my brush, and I'm just going to pick up some of that color. I don't want it to be too strong. There we go. This color right here, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit more green in it. And I'm gonna go ahead and lay that in over here for this. It's like a metallic base that's propping up the pole or the support beam. Okay, just like that. And a little bit here and a little bit here. That's good. Rinse off my brush. And now we have to do the rails that the train is standing on. For that, we can actually, I'll get some green here, mix that in with this. Maybe a little bit of purple. A little more purple, and yeah, this is a good color. We can go ahead and there's a line. If you look carefully, you'll see that there's a line, and you can use that going all the way up, like that, as well as right here. There's like a stop for the train. That's what that is. And that, and that, and that. Okay, that's good. Rinse my brush. I'm gonna leave these posts here. They're gonna be white, just like the little highlights in the sconce as well as the clouds. And this little piece over here, you want there to be white in the piece, it's much harder to make a painting look really nice if there's no white. Especially with watercolor painting, you want to have those highlights. They're almost like anchors for your eyes, for when you're looking at the piece. But the last thing that we do want to do is, I'm just gonna dry my brush here, and then there's already enough liquid black in my little pan here that I can just grab that directly, and I'm gonna be using it as an outline. And actually, I could probably get a little bit more water and just drop it in here, and then just mix it up a little bit, just so it's almost like I'm using ink. I'm just dipping into this little area to get that nice pure black that I can use for doing the details. And remember, if you're using the exact same brush that I am, if you have it completely up and down and you just barely graze the surface of the paper, it'll give you really nice thin lines like that, like this right here. Like, you could do that. I'm going to be going a little bit of an angle, so some of my lines will end up looking a little fatter, but that's because I'm going at an angle to try to make sure that I'm not blocking the camera. Okay, so I'm grabbing the paint, and first I'm going to do a little bit of an outline here for these ropes, just a little, and take my time, go slowly, like that. I'm going to do a little bit of an outline for the platform here, where that leads up to the cabin. Some lines, just horizontal, vertical, just to outline some of that machinery that's underneath. Maybe a little bit outline of the door frame here and the window of the door frame, like that. A little bit back here, like that. This little cylinder, the curve for the cylinder, kind of messed that up, but no big deal. Like that, underneath. Do a couple of detail marks here and here. And like that. Okay. And all of these. Just a little bit here and there. You just want to outline some parts just to show definition. You don't even have to do everything like I'm doing it. You could choose which parts you outline. And you could choose to outline different parts. I'll grab a little more here, and then definitely these vents here. Like that. This, like that. A little bit this little cap. This half of the cylinder, the front of the cylinder, mess that up too. These little hinges here, maybe some dots here for these little bolts that are around the front. And then just do some lines to outline. Oh, what is this thing called? Is it like a grill? Or not a grill, bumper. train bumper. Okay, I'm going to rinse off my brush. The main differences I would say is that with this one, we basically, the black parts of the train, I didn't make them as black in this painting. And also the red that I use is just a little more orange than red, as opposed to the reference. But what I do like more about this one is that the light, you can see the light better. So I think both of them are good. I like both of them. But this is pretty much is the exact same print that I'm painting, but it's interesting how much they can look different based on how you render the paint. Sorry, I know I keep switching back and forth between them. I apologize. But this is it for this one. So okay, hopefully that took a while, so I appreciate you if you stuck through it with me. And keep in mind, you don't have to paint the whole thing all at once. You can always just come back to it if you feel like you get a little overwhelmed. And I probably didn't do the best job explaining everything, so if you need clarification, just leave a comment or send me a message, and I'll try to respond right away. But with that, I do appreciate you painting with me, and I will see you on the next episode.